You got some money for me, boy? I seen your name in our ledger.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So today I planned on talking about something completely different. On this channel, I usually go through upcoming games that look compelling and are coming from respectable developers that always deliver on bringing great game experiences, even if I don't agree all the time with their decision making. That can be highlighted by CD Projekt Red, Rockstar Games, Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Kojima Productions, anything Hideo Kojima does. Not sure if there are too many more, but I'm sure there's a couple. But I usually don't really talk about things that bother me. Sure, I've talked about this individual with his fake I got Grand Theft Auto 6 and Red Dead Redemption 2 nonsense bullshit, but the game industry is heading down a scary path, and I have to discuss this with you.
Look what I found in front of my door, man.
No!
10 years ago, if you wanted to access everything that a game offers, at least in the single player, there was cheat codes. Now we have microtransactions and half-finished, rushed-out trash games. Video games are starting to head down a scary route. I've heard other creators like Jim Sterling, Pretty Good Gaming, Downward Thrust, Total Biscuit, Sid Alpha, Angry Joe, and a few others voice their opinions on this, but don't you miss the days where $60 gave you a full video game with no strings attached? Sure, maybe down the road there's an expansion pack, but the game you got was something that you could enjoy right there and then. For a comparison, I recall playing Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare back in 2007, and it was great. I paid $60, but everything was there, a full game. Sure, a few months later, a $10 map pack arrived, but at that time, most of us were okay with supporting a developer that brought us an amazing game, and the DLC did look interesting. Now, fast forward to this past year's Call of Duty, which was Infinite Warfare. It launched with missing features, but surely enough had its supply drops ready to go. And I also should note Call of Duty 4 got a remaster last year, which eventually got an expansion map pack of old remastered maps for $15, more than the actual map pack itself was back in 2007. And oh yeah, also microtransactions that later would come with all new weapons. But I think you guys get the point with the comparison, and there's way too much I could say about the Call of Duty franchise's hypocrisy over the years. But now getting back on track, in the last few years a variety of controversies has come with video games. We saw the misleading No Man's Sky release to universal anger late last year. Turtle Rock Studios Evolve launched with $136 worth of paid DLC, Mafia 3 launched way too early, showcasing a game that clearly got pushed out the door not ready, Assassin's Creed Unity was a buggy microtransaction mess, Square Enix forced developers Eidos to implement a payment system that totally broke the progression of their game Deus Ex Mankind Divided only weeks before launch. The Kickstarter-backed Mighty No. 9 delivered on about nothing that was promised. Homefront The Revolution was just... why did it even get launched? Counter-Strike Global Offensive is the biggest example of underage gambling, which has been met with multiple lawsuits served to Valve and the various gambling sites that profited from this. But the list goes on, and this is not just me cherry-picking. These controversies are becoming more and more common. Within this last year, it almost feels like any game I've looked forward to has not delivered on what they promised or implemented anti-consumer bullshit like loot boxes or microtransactions, or also paid mods. Mass Effect Andromeda was probably one of the top games I was excited for coming into this year, but the game was just frustrating from the animations to the gameplay. Bethesda decided to bring alive paid mods again because that worked so well the first time, and so far the Creation Club has just been a disaster, and right now Bethesda Game Studios, a developer that was so loved and respected over the years, has lost a lot of fans because of their decision making. Then we have microtransactions in 2017, so the new thing is if you have a popular game or franchise, you implement microtransactions, or as they usually are called, loot boxes or supply drops. Overwatch was probably the top game of 2016, and microtransactions were brought after launch. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds introduced this feature, even following the creator saying he would not do it, but now you got gamers spending $1,000 on a fucking bandana. Yeah. Other than just Overwatch and PUBG, Middle-earth Shadow of War's developers revealed that there would be loot boxes for this single-player game, so that some players who get overwhelmed by such a big game can get the full experience by using real money to make the game easier. Okay. That makes no fucking sense. Then we also have Forza 7, NBA 2K18, For Honor, Destiny 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I'm sure there's more games, all striking up controversy over their microtransaction shenanigans this year. Say what you want about some of these practices, but when I buy a $60 game, I shouldn't be pressured into spending even more money. This is the type of tactics that you see in a free-to-play mobile game. While many people over the years have made the argument that it's only cosmetic items or it's your choice to spend real-world money supporting this feature, it's becoming problematic because it seems like it's encouraging more developers and publishers to implement it into their future games. Within the next few years, if I had to guess at this point, we're going to see about every single AAA video game have a slot machine, or we're going to see governments step in and start cracking down on this feature, as if you want to be honest, this is gambling that for the most part is aimed at little Billy, Jimmy, or Susie who decided to go spend $500 of mom and dad's hard-earned cash for some items in Overwatch. Also, it seems like if you have a gambling addiction, you may want to avoid certain games, which unfortunately, that list is increasing rapidly. Outside of microtransactions, full-price half-finished games seem to be a prominent new thing. Sometimes it's because the games are rushed out the door, and other times it's because developers do it on purpose in order to keep attention on their games over time. Downward Thrust, another YouTuber, did an amazing breakdown of this bullshit by bringing up Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which had a ton of missing features that later came as DLC, which in turn brought a lot of attention to this game, keeping it relevant and making money. Whether you're buying an incomplete $60 game or purchasing microtransactions for a $60 game that just launched, you need to realize that video game costs are getting ridiculous. Soon you are going to need a part-time job to buy yourself a fucking outfit for PUBG. But as I mainly concentrated this video on the AAA gaming industry, this is much more widespread. You have mobile gaming, which really started this microtransaction practice, making it about 100 times worse, and then you have the boatload of Steam or smaller games which are just horrendous in so many ways, like the Life of Black Tiger that somehow made it to the PlayStation 4 store, and Train Simulator featuring 400 individual DLC items that equals up to a grand total of $6,863.01. Holy shit. The last things I really can say is do not support video games that encourage this shady behavior, because the more we do, the more we will see it and we will pay. Whenever video games are announced, now there's just so many fears of microtransactions, and one of the biggest examples that is relevant right now is Red Dead Redemption 2. Everyone is nervous about what could be implemented. This is an older and more mature audience, so the Grand Theft Auto Online shark cards probably cannot be directly put into this Western setting. Some people have even asked me, could we see single-player microtransactions? And I wish I could say Rockstar wouldn't do that, but there's a certain parent company, Take-Two Interactive, that feels they didn't make enough money off of Grand Theft Auto Online. So we just really don't know what's next from them. The real scary thought is what developer that we love right now is next to fall in line and go ahead and do something like microtransactions tomorrow. But the good news is right now we still have developers that are bringing great finished games without microtransactions. Some of the best of 2017 include Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, Cuphead, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and I'm sure there are many more. These are the games that we need to support, and unfortunately from the games I mentioned earlier that featured microtransactions, most of them are mainly multiplayer titles, which as Microsoft's head of Xbox Phil Spencer admitted earlier this year, saying quote-unquote, "You'll have things like Zelda or Horizon Zero Dawn that'll come out, and they'll do really well, but they don't have the same impact that they used to have, because the big service-based games are capturing such a large amount of the audience." What he said is true. Games like Grand Theft Auto Online or Dota 2 or Elder Scrolls Online, all multiplayer titles, are fueled by microtransactions and expansion content, all bringing in tons of money. It seems like every game publisher nowadays wants their own Grand Theft Auto Online, and with that thought process, it makes me very optimistic about gaming moving forward, for single player titles and multiplayer titles. Even for a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 that will feature microtransactions for sure, hopefully Rockstar Games understands the viewpoint that many have for Grand Theft Auto Online, which is it's a pay-to-win ordeal. This is clearly a very split opinion, with many favoring and opposing the direction that has brought Rockstar Games a ton of money from Grand Theft Auto Online. Again, as I mentioned earlier with the Red Dead Redemption 2 audience being a bit older and mature, the Grand Theft Auto Online model may not exactly work, and that's why until we get direct answers, this will continue to be a fear for many who are hopeful for a single player that's supported after launch, and a multiplayer that doesn't force you to open up your wallet every time new content arrives. Anyway guys, what do you make of all this? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and as usual, thank you for watching. Make sure to smack that like button if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and consider subscribing to stay up to date on huge upcoming games, and I'll see you later. You know what's really ironic about The Life of Black Tiger? It has such a detailed thumbnail. You know, you'd think it's actually a good game or something that's looks like it's playable. But when you see this trailer, it's just like, who at PlayStation thought that this would be a smart decision? It just, everything about this is horrible. Like, it looks like some guy spent one night in his basement making this. Oh, God. I'm still here. The final thing I can really say is, I guess this is gaming in 2017.